Welcome to The Apprentice at Home, where the seemingly tranquil appearance of the place belies the pandemonium that has recently occurred. The calm of the candidates as they return from another day's work well done cannot hide the tensions bubbling beneath. OK, let's start at the beginning. Over to you, Niamh.
We were on a prize, we were relaxed, we were chilled out, and a few drinks were had. And I think that might be bringing out the natural personalities of certain individuals that they've tried very hard to hide. And as I said, alcohol in, truth out, brought a little bit of someone's natural personality to the fore. A couple of comments were made, which I felt I have absolutely no problem with anybody making a personal comment about me. God knows I was slagging absolutely everybody in the house. But when the comments turned to a bit of a nasty nature and brought my family into it, I did get a little offended and simply said, I just appreciate if you didn't make those comments again.
When I said something silly about pretending we were on a yacht in Monaco or something like this, it was just silly. And someone turned around and kind of just whipped out a pretty silly comment, and I came back with like a bit of a retort, and okay, I probably was a little bit more stronger than the other person in what I said, do you know what I mean? But at the same time I was like, you know, I don't think people can just throw around comments, no problem, and expect no response. So I kind of just said, you know, what I said back, and then I left the room. And apparently all hell broke loose while I was gone because everyone was saying that was what I'd said was really bad and stuff like that. And I kind of didn't think it was.
That Sarah is a big character in the house, right? And she basically made a comment to Niamh in relation to her family home, right, which is, I do believe is a bit of a low blow. The other members of the team agreed with that comment. It's the aspect that it was below the belt. You know, we all have the crack and have a bit of a slagging match now and again, but yes, that was a bit below the belt. And it really started from there.
On Friday morning, obviously, coincidentally, Ray Darcy was broadcasting a radio programme from my house, which meant my family were on the radio and we were in the room for pre-boardroom interviews, so everyone was in there and everyone was laughing and joking about it and listening to it. And then later on, when there was a bit of kind of, you know, slagging going back and forward, there was just a few comments relating back to it that were quite nasty made. So obviously I didn't appreciate it because at the end of the day this programme's been aired on television and I don't mind anything being nasty said about me, but at the end of the day if I feel that something's been said that's going to cause offence to somebody on the outside world, like for instance my family, then basically that doesn't, you know, that just doesn't wash with me.
What I said back, what I said in response was referring to absolute public knowledge, do you know what I mean? I didn't make it too personal. Of course it was about that person, you know, but at the same time, it's, you know, as I said, I haven't broadcast my personal life in here. And I think people that do and really make it public knowledge can't expect people not to comment on it. Like, if you bring it, then you should expect it back.
I came back to the table to see a few people fighting, and you couldn't really say who was fighting with who. I think it was Sarah and Niamh were having words, and Panis and Barry were having words, but then, like, Panis and Niamh were having words. It was just, like, messy and embarrassing, really.
Totally unacceptable and very unprofessional when we're trying to run a reward. We're representing Bill to two major clients on that day, and it did look ultimately unprofessional. And I was disappointed in my teammates, and I know one or two other members were, including Dave, who was the project manager.
It'd be an understatement if I said I wasn't absolutely mortified at the prize the other night. As PM, when people start bickering, people start fighting. At one stage it was like closing time at a bar, people having arguments outside, people having arguments inside.
Well, at least that was that. Words were said, feelings were hurt, but the policy of what happens on the reward stays on the reward was adhered to, and the candidates moved on. Right?
When we were here in our own, we were playing poker, having a laugh, and then all hell broke loose when the others arrived back. They just swaned in the door and then they were all like bitching about this and that and the other, and we were like, what the hell is going on? Because we didn't obviously know what had gone on at their meal.
And then the other team came in the door and you could cut the tension with a knife, and we were kind of irritated actually because we were having a really nice evening, and they came in and everyone had a head on them, and we said, oh, what happened? And they said, oh, there was arguments during the dinner of the prize.
Supposedly at the treat there was like, we're worth 3.
I was certainly not involved in any fight or any argument whatsoever. I did have a few choice words with a certain individual in the house during our prize. Basically, just the only comment I made was, I don't appreciate the comments you're making, so please refrain from making them because I don't want to have an argument. So that was the sum total of any involvement I had in any form of argument, which was nothing to do with the actual massive argument that happened here later on. So it was completely separate, while it was genuinely completely separate to anything that happened. And believe me, an awful lot happened out on that prize. Different people were fighting with different people, but when we came back to the house, 2 people had a private conversation. One person got upset, that person went to their room crying, and somebody jumped in to make a massive big furore over something that could have literally been just kept to a certain chat.
And I went upstairs then and I found Ciara out sitting on the balcony, and she was really, really upset. And I asked her what was wrong. And she said that Jamie had approached her in her room again for the 2nd night in a row.
Yeah, he came into my bedroom and said to me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Well, no, obviously not." And he said, "Well, I can understand where Kieran was coming from, and you know, that you should have gone, in my opinion, and that I shouldn't be annoyed with him and Caroline for me going instead."
And had said to her, you know, something about the fact that, you know, her performance was really bad on the tasks.
I think Sarah felt that I was being bullied. I don't think that was necessarily the case, but I think she felt that I was being bullied.
I went downstairs and I confronted Jamie, and I said openly and in front of other people that I thought it was victimisation. I felt that Jamie was targeting Ciara because she's vulnerable. I said that bullying is a horrible thing to do to people, and I just felt that it really wasn't acceptable. I said I felt it was disgusting. And then I went back upstairs, and I could kind of hear everyone talking about it downstairs, and I said, I'm going to pop down and say, you know, that's what I stand by. I absolutely do stand by, you know, someone who's weak and vulnerable being victimised by a group of people, in my book, is unacceptable. And probably because of the fact that, you know, everyone was having such a good time earlier on, contributed to the reason why I felt I could say it. And I went back downstairs anyway, and things got a little out of control.
When Sarah got really annoyed, I went down and confronted Jamie. And when she did that, Michelle jumped in to protect Jamie. And the 2 girls just went ballistic at each other.
People's stress, pressure, just everybody exploded. I actually only had an argument with one person. Myself and Sarah went for each other, and it was pretty horrendous.
And I suppose that Michelle found Tara's confrontation very aggressive, and she, rightly or wrongly, I wasn't there to see it, thought that Sarah was trying to take a swim at Jamie.
You know, I think what happened that night was serious. It has serious implications. Like, obviously it's in the rules, you know, that you can't do what happened that night. So there are some serious implications to be thought through, I suppose.
What I'll keep saying, what I think is great about it is that it's all gone. It took 2 days, and you know, the tasks are done, and you know, there's no issues at all in the house now.
To sum up, Sarah slagged off Niamh's family on the reward, starting a huge fight, then came home and confronted Jamie over his comments to Ciara about Kieran's eviction, causing a huge fight, which nearly ended in blows. But that's all behind them now, and the group can move on. Right?
I think what happened last night, I inevitably saw coming anyway. I just think it has been a tension that has been building up between certain individuals and groups of people over the course of from day 1 to now. That, coupled with alcohol, fueled a lot of sparks last night.
I think there is certain divisions in the house. I don't think they were evident, but definitely over the last while since Kieran's gone, it has shown 1 or 2 divides within the house, you know, and definitely has become more evident, you know.
I think everybody learnt a lot from that, actually, because there were issues that, you know, Kieran had gone home and he was friends with people in the house, and his friends were very upset, and it was the first time someone who had close friends in the house had gone home, and reality hit. You know, your friends are going to go home or you're going to go home. What would you prefer? Like, and then, I don't know, like, people said what they needed to say, and there was unnecessary arguments as well.
Just some people aren't speaking to each other. Nor will they speak again, I'd say.
Because obviously everyone wants, you know, to pick sides and have oh, yeah, we all think this person's a bitch or that person's mental, but no, I made sure I didn't fall into that trap. But I really don't have any opinions. They can all kill themselves for all I care, to be honest.
It's just people what they want. People are spinning stories any way they want, and I don't give a shit what they say, to be honest.
You can't expect for everyone to love you all the time. Do you know what I mean? So.
Yes, get in there. What a shot. I reckon we should all just right. That's the goal, yeah.
Simple answer, simple solution.
You really sold that to me. I think we should all just ride.
Simple.
Where's the ticket?
So romantic. You should write Valentine's cards.
I know. Straight to the point. It's cheap and cheerful.
On the inside.
Cheap and cheerful, straight to the point.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Let's
Though the love appears to have returned to the house after the knockdown, drag-out fight that was the reward, old issues still rankle with the candidates, namely the twin issues of Kieran's departure and the dreaded alliance.
The whole alliance thing is driving me crazy. I mean, we came in here and you're friends with certain people. Some people chose to isolate themselves altogether from even trying to make friends. We were in the hotel before we even came here. Sarah, for example, didn't even bother to move into the hotel with everyone else. So initially, the other 15 had already a little bond that she didn't even bother trying to make. Then, as time went on, I mean, you get on with certain people, and people paired off and, you know, went off in 3s and 4s and 5s, whatever. And you gravitate to people who are like you. And I don't see it as any alliance at all. I mean, it's friendships. There's other friendships in here, and we don't brand them by any other name. I don't know what this whole alliance is about.
There was no alliances as such, you know, stuff like that. It was more friendship, you know. It's very hard to not be friends with people in here. You can't sit in your room on your own. You know, you have to communicate and you have to become friends, even though we're all here in a competition against each other.
I mean, this whole alliance thing seems to have suddenly emerged on Friday, and there's no need for it. I mean, every other elimination so far, people have been mature enough to get on with it, get on afterwards. But this last one, people just aren't, and they're being bitter. And
I think Kieran was what he was, and he'd admitted himself. He was open and honest and direct, which meant that while other people might be saying things about other people behind other people's backs, he said it to their face, and he made no qualms. He said, look, if I don't like you, I don't like you, and that's it. If I like you, I love you. So he was definitely a person that rubbed some people up the wrong way, but I don't think he'll regret that at all, do you know? His arrival back here was awkward in a way of, like, it was definitely one of the first boardrooms that blood was properly spilled. Like, it was not one of these things where everyone walks in the door hugging and, oh, we've bonded over the boardroom. It was like blood had been shed. So when he arrived back here, obviously, there was a lot of people who were not happy to see him come back for the day, and I felt, to be perfectly honest, that any time I was kind of with him, talking to him, having the crack with him, that eyes were burning me.
He's a clever businessman. He didn't deserve to go home.
Kieran, who's one of the people in that close friends, took me in, even though I sold the most, and I worked the hardest, and that's why he was sent home.
And I think that he got the raw deal in being fired.
Lost a big enough character there the other day in Kieran. I think it's the first time in the last 4 people leaving that it's actually hit the house bad, you know. The divides in the house were evident, you know, when he did leave, so.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Yeah. It's hard to know, like, even at this stage now, obviously.
You can never tell.
You can never tell, but even like at this stage, there's a lot of people who I really, really don't want to go home, you know? A lot of people who I really don't want to.
I really